And we're back from outer space with Frost DK changes and updates. And last time we praised the shit out of Frost DK, but since then our standards have been raised up by prior and future specs by specs that have been released after Frost DK with much better talent trees. And even though Frost DK initially was one of the best talent trees, now it's even better. And hold on to your horses, because you might think, what could possibly make the already good Frost DK even better? Well, a bunch of talent changes which are minor-ish in the scale of things, but big in terms of impacts. So stay tuned, everybody, because today we are talking about Frost DK in Dragonflight Beta, and a much better version of that Frost DK is currently within our grasps and is looking so fucking good, And if you like these videos and the daily content that we do, consider hitting that thumbs up, that subscribe, and enable those notifications so that you obviously can get notified whenever we put new stuff. But it will also help the video out. It will tell the algorithm guys, hey guys, this video is kind of cool, can you show it to new people? The algorithm gods will go, okay, I guess we will show it to more people because you like, subscribe, and enable those notifications. And then the video grows, the channel grows, we are happy, you are happy, and we can do more content in the future. Thank you very much. Let's actually talk Frost DK. Now, a quick section about the general talent tree. It's more or less the same in the sense as it hasn't changed since our Unholy video. If you haven't checked our Unholy video yet, you probably should if you want to know more details about the general talent tree and also know a little bit about Unholy. But what you need to know is that it has been improved. A lot of the throughput nodes kind of have been toned down and taken away. For instance, Runic Empowerment is now back baseline to your kit, so you cannot really talent into it anymore, which it's fair enough. It was particularly ridiculous with the amount of runes and runic power you could generate. And a couple of other nodes have been toned down. It's a little bit more straightforward, although there are still some issues. For instance, Abomination Limb and Empower Rune Weapon are extremely powerful capstones that you will most likely all the time take. And if you do take these all the time, there are specific parts of the talent tree that will always remain an elusiveness to the rest time of your playing through Dragonflights, unless you just want Soul Reaper for some reason. But likely, you'll never not want to take Empower Rune Weapon, clearly, and you will never not want to take Abomination Limb, because Slappy Hands is the best hands, and that's still maybe the only real issue I'd have with the Frost DK. The capstones are nowhere even close as being equal, unless they do something to that Soul Reaper all the way on the bottom right. Now, with that out of the way, let's actually check the spec tree. And it might look the same to you, but it's so not the same, and it's so much better. First of all, the pathing is perfect. The talents are so much more easily accessible. You can path away from talents you don't want to. You can get talents that were previously very annoying and very costly to get. And first of all, Glacial Spike has been moved way up past the first gate of the talents, which is, you know, the first part of the talent tree is basically the first section. Once you put 8 points in, you unlock the first gate, which enables the middle part of the talent tree where the meat is, and that's where you'll find Glacial Advance and also Frost Scythe. They're both there, and they're more accessible basically for each version of the build that you want to get. It's kind of okay-ish. I mean, Glacial Advance is the only other AoE runic power consumer that you have outside of Breath of Sindragosa, so it's good that it's very accessible and it's not really out of the way. Frost Scythe has been kind of weird in the last expansion in Shadowlands. Now it's actually good. And if you do talent into Frost Scythe, and let's say you talent all the way on the right-hand side, where all the Obliteration talents are not, because they're on the left-hand side, Frost Scythe will do more damage than Obliterate when consuming Killing Machine, even on single target. And that's how Frost Scythe is supposed to work, from what I've discussed it with Taze and the Acaris boys. So that's really cool, because Frost Scythe being back means awesomeness. Not to mention that since we're kind of like in the middle side of the talent tree, right underneath Pillar of Frost, you'll see Frostwhelp's Aid, which is, I guess, the old Frostwhelp Indignation that we have in BFA kind kind of redesigned. Pillar of Frost summons a Frost Whelp who breathes on all enemies within 40 yards in a line for 20% attack power and frost damage, and each unique enemy hit by Frost Whelp's aid grants you 4% mastery for 15 seconds up to 20. So if you hit 5 or more targets, you'll get the maximum benefit of this, and that will mean 20% extra mastery, which means frost damage, which means happy Frost DK days. And on the opposite side, there's Enduring Strength, which I think is the old Icy Citadel Azurite trait. Either way, when Pillar of Frost expires, your strength is increased by 5% for 6 seconds. This effect lasts 2 seconds longer for each Obliterate and Frostbite critical strike during Pillar of Frost. This has been something that I've been discussing with the DKs because it sounds like it's pretty good. It's a 2-point investment, so it's more likely like a 10% increase for 6 seconds, and we'll see. I mean, 10% strength is pretty good, and if you play Obliteration, for instance, you will be able to extend this for a long time. Then it's not the same, right? Because prior to this, it was the buff itself would give you more strength the more killing machine prods you would consume, or I think it was runes. Either way, not the duration. The buff is flat, the duration increases, which I guess, I mean, it's fun. It's another thing to play with, and it makes fighting outside of Pillar of Frost good. We'll see if it's worth to pick it. I love it. I would love to have this mechanic in because that would just smooth out your damage a little bit outside cooldowns as well, so you don't feel like a wet noodle, which is good. Now, Icecap is also in the middle of the fucking talent tree. Yes! Oh my god, this is so good. People have been asking for Icecap to not be a choice node and to be in opposition with Obliteration for the longest time, not to mention Birth of Sindragosa as well, because Icecap is just so good. It's simple. Icecap, essentially, if you don't know, your Frostbite and Obliterate critical strikes reduce the remaining cooldown of Pillar of Frost by 4 seconds, giving you faster pillars, and obviously every other talent up until this point that buffed pillar becomes more and more valuable. You likely always want to take Icecap. I don't know if there's a situation where you won't, particularly because it's pretty accessible and it's always going to impact either of the builds that you're going to be playing, either the right side with the Breath or the left side with the Obliteration. Anything goes, and it's good because Frost DK doesn't really have a lot of layers of death to its playstyle. It's not very complicated, doesn't have a gazillion things to juggle, so having faster pillars is really good, especially since you don't want that damage to hit like a wet noodle when you don't have cooldowns. I think everybody playing Frost DK can attest to that. Now, there's another talent going down from Icecap, Avalanche, which was prior a choice node, weirdly placed in the middle right side of the talent tree. Now it's no longer a choice, it's there, and it's decently accessible. Also applies Razor Eyes, which is fan-fucking-tastic. Obviously, it stands for itself why this is good and why this applies Razor Eyes. It's obviously amazing in AoE, since it might take some time before you apply all of the stacks of Razor Eyes in AoE, depending on how you do it. Frost Scythe usually used to be the way that you would apply that, or Glacial Advance. So outside of those, you can still apply quicker Razor Eyes, since it procs from the Rhyme Consumes, right? So that's pretty good. And we talked about the left-hand side, the Obliteration side. Let's go over there a little bit and see. Basically, Obliteration, which is the capstone all the way on the bottom left-hand side, is no longer a choice though with Icecap, so it goes, and it should go with Icecap, which is crazy good. Finally some neat interactions. And we have a couple of new talents in the sense that we didn't really have them before. Prior to getting Obliteration, you'll have Cold-Blooded Rage. Frost Strikes has a 10% chance on critical strikes to grant Killing Machine, and this goes up to 20% if you put 2 points in. This is a little bit weird because this is another source of Killing Machine procs. During your pillar, this doesn't matter. This talent doesn't have really any value because you get Killing Machine procs no matter what. There's not a % chance of getting it, but outside of it, it's good. This works really well with Icecap, clearly, because it gives you more procs to get that Icecap value sooner and get pillars sooner. So having it placed all the way here kind of guarantees that you will probably play Icecap no matter what when you do go Obliteration. So I don't know, maybe position this differently, maybe have this in the Icecap to make more sense. I mean, it's fine. I don't mind it. It's not bad, but it really is supposed to fuel Icecap and not Obliteration. So seeing as it's pretty far away from Icecap, just a little bit weird, but that's fine. You also have Shattering Strike, which is a little bit higher up. Shattering Strikes is, I think it's a new talent. I don't know if Frost had this mechanic before. If it did, I didn't play with it. When Frost Strike damages an enemy with 5 stacks of Razor Ice, it will consume them to deal an additional 60% damage. This is pretty cool, especially for single target. it doesn't consume all of the stacks, it just consumes 5, so if you have 4 it won't trigger. Not to mention that you have a lot of the talents that buff Frost Strike to actually hit really hard, which is great because it is a consumer, it should hit really hard. And couple this with Shattering Strike and your single target will be nice. And considering that Avalanche now also is another source of Razor Eyes, reapplying those stacks really quick is probably going to be really good. So you might take Shattering Strike with Avalanche also. And it's kind of good that both of these are one-pointers and you don't have to invest too much into getting the synergy, considering that Avalanche is kind of not really out of the way because you're probably going to have Icecap anyway, so getting to Avalanche is not hard, but it's slightly to the right-hand side when you're already on the left trying to get every goodie on the left-hand side. Goodie like Bone Grinder, which is a 2-pointer. Consuming Killing Machine grants 10% to 20% critical strike chance for 10 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. At 5 stacks, your next Killing Machine consumes the stacks and grants you 10% increased frost damage for 10 seconds. Again, this is particularly really good. Obviously, it stacks twice because it's a 2-pointer. Again, getting crits is slightly awkward with Obliteration because crits are supposed to give you Killing Machine procs, but Obliteration is guaranteed Killing Machine procs during Pillar. So this, again, kind of has potentially more value outside, at least the first half of it, because the second half of it gives you frost damage. Now, I don't know if you're going to play around it. It sounds like it sounds like a buff that constantly rotates, and you just go with it and it's just fine. It's just a lot of damage. It's probably how it's going to function. I don't think you're going to play around it, but you know, with Obliteration, you're going to have a higher uptime on it because you just have more and more Killing Machines. It's just a little bit weird in an Obliteration build to see talents that increase your crit chance, considering that during Pillar of Frost, you can consider yourself as having 100% crit chance anyway. Kinda, right? Am I right? Am I a good Frost DK? I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. Might of the Frozen Waste is also there, kind of like a dead-end talent. You will probably always take it, so I guess that's fine. I mean, even if it passed down, you would probably still get it and get everything else, although I could see a world where you might, if let's say Might of the Frozen Waste would have passed down to Cold-Blooded Rage, maybe you would have skipped Bone Grinder, and that's 2 points you're not forced to take. I could see that world for becoming, although that 10% frost damage is pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. Or is it 20% with the 2 pointers? Tooltips are a little bit weird. And also, there's another, well, this is not a new talent, but I think it was renamed and the icon has been changed. Frost Reaper. Killing Machine also causes your next Obliterate to deal frost damage. It's a 1-pointer, which is good. I think this mechanic at least was added in Shadowlands, where it made Obliteration more valuable because Mastery increased your Obliteration damage, since Obliterate would be frost damage and not physical damage, aka not mitigated by the target's mob's boss's armor. So, I mean, this is not new, it was in the prior version as well, but it's more out there, let's say. And the last addition on the left-hand side is Horn of Winter, which was prior to this in the general talent tree. Below the Horn of Winter, gaining 2 runes and generating 25 runic power. This is good. It's a 45-second cooldown. It will probably match with all of the Pillar of Frosts. I think you might even have Pillar of Frost quicker than you would be able to use Horn of Winter. This is a little bit weird because right now, as I was recording the footage and the dungeons for the video, I was level 61 or 62 with questing leveling gear, so it wasn't particularly amazing. And I did feel that I had a couple of pillars where I was out of runes, and even though I had a Rhyme proc, I had to spend runic power for my Frost Strike to get the next Killing Machine during my pillar window, so I would waste Rhyme procs essentially. So Horn of Winter kind of solves that, but we still have the issue of, you know, ignoring runic power completely during Obliteration, which I don't see a way outside of that, unless, I don't know, Glacial Advance consumes Rhyme procs, which I think will be a little bit too overpowered. But either way, I guess that will be the Obliteration thing for the coming future. Now, on the right-hand side, actually has seen fewer changes overall, although some readjustments with Frostbite being a little bit higher. Cold Heart is also like right there, and also not necessarily skippable because you will want the Empower Rune Weapon talent just underneath it. And so far, in the way that it's tuned right now on beta, although numbers can always change, it will deal a gazillion damage. It's stacked all the way to 20 hits harder than any single ability that we have currently, so that's pretty cool. Probably outside Frost's Fury, but who knows? Who knows how this will all turn out in the end. And you will have, I think this is a new talent, I don't remember this being before, Icebreaker going down to Breathless Indragosa. Now, Icebreaker, when empowered by Rhyme, Howling Blast deals 30% increased damage to your primary target, which is good because this is probably where you would play the Raid build, the Breathless Indragosa build, although you could say that this would be the AoE side with Chill Streak and all the rhymes and all the Remorseless Winter talents. It is good to have some priority damage. I mean, this is where the Howling Blast talents are anyway, so if there was any place for Icebreaker to be, it would be here. I don't know if it should be the way to go down to Breathless Indragosa, but maybe it's not that bad considering that Breathless Indragosa was the single target build anyway. However, we probably would like to live in a world where the single target is clearly the better one to go on the left hand side with Obliteration, since it would make more sense. Otherwise, we're gonna be stuck on the right hand side of the talent tree for another expansion. So hope that doesn't come to pass, and it all comes down to tuning, which we will see in the next couple of weeks and months, going into the date of the release of Dragonflight, which we still don't know yet, but will probably come soon. We'll see how that turns out. This is kind of encompassing all of the changes that Frost DK had so far. They don't seem a lot, but they actually change the dynamic very well, and most of all, they will change how you build your Frost DK and will eliminate a lot of the moments of, oh, fuck, man, that's so far away and I have to spend all these points to get that. Those moments are pretty much all of them gone. If you want big obliterate hits, you go on the left hand side. If you want AoE for days, you go on the right hand side and you'll have a blast either way, and you won't have to sacrifice stuff like Icecap or things like that. So, what do you think? Do you think Frost DK is going to be a good main or maybe alt for Dragonflight for you? Let us know in the comment section down below. Thank you, Patreons, for supporting the content. We love you, and we will see you in the next one. Peace!
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.